I'm an alternate.
Dang.
Good
But
morning.
it's okay.
Good morning.
What did I miss? I feel like that was a dramatic story.
Very
I'm
dramatic.
just telling her that the courts got me and I'm an alternate for jury duty next week.
You didn't tell them that you absolutely love, you have like a degree in something that they don't like
No.
and get rid of. I would just tell them, I have a degree in justice systems and peacekeeping. So I'm so excited for this. And then they're just like, you're excused.
They kept a correctional sergeant. So
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. I don't know. That just sounds like it's going to be a dramatic case if they kept a correctional sergeant. So have fun.
It shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. I've never actually done jury.
I get a break from work.
Neither
so
have
it's
I.
fine. You what?
I've never done jury duty. I've
This is
always
my
gotten
first
out of
time.
it.
This is my first time. I mean, thankfully it's just an alternate, but I still have to be there.
Well, Kristen, I think you might actually receive one as well. When did you pass your exam?
Wait, what?
When did you pass your real estate exam?
Oh, December 5th or something.
Okay, December 5th of this next year. You can celebrate that you didn't get called to jury duty because you just got put back in the system. That first year, because you register with everything in the state, your name goes on the top of all of the lists. So
oh, lovely. Really? Good heads up.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. And it's what happened when I renewed my life. Like you have to take the renewal things as well. So every time I go to renew my license, I get like a lovely little like, oh, you might, you're going to call for jury duty. And then I just walk in. And for the last number of years, I got called for jury duty while being an expat. So while living in Canada, and I was in Canada for 7 years at that point, I renewed my license because I wanted to keep it up in California. I was trying to decide what I was doing back and forth because I used it to pay for school. And they're like, oh, you need to come in for jury duty. And I was like, I'm not even a resident.
I'm in a different country.
I live in a different country. They did not understand. I had to defer it till Christmas and I had to walk into the courts the week before Christmas and be like, I don't live here. I've deferred this long enough. Like, is there any way, who do I need to talk to? But they're like, oh, but you have a real estate. This is when I learned that like you have a real estate license in California. You have to have it. I was like, you can have real estate licenses in every state. Doesn't mean you live in every state. And that doesn't mean that you can come to jury duty in every state. And they were just like, oh, okay, well, we'll flag your file. So I think I'm still flagged as an expat, which is awesome. But now that I've started paying taxes again, I'm actually really curious this year if I'm going to get called because the two might match back up because they had to unflag me as an expatriate before they could. Like last year's taxes were so messy because we didn't realize that I was still flagged as an expatriate, and expatriate taxes aren't due till October. And then you can actually extend them into the following year. Because the United States is one of only 4 countries in the world that charges you on your international income. And so they want every document possible. So yeah, anyway, point is you're probably going to get some kind of nice
that's
letter.
good to know.
So just kind of mentally prep yourself because it's California. They don't want to miss you.
Exactly.
I get them all the time.
Well, you work for the state, so I feel like you're in a whole other beast than we are. So, okay, with that, ladies, I would love to get started. I have a document I would love to run through, but I want to address any major thoughts and concerns you have first. And then I want to talk about, I'm actually making a note for myself. Then I want to talk about, so thoughts. And then I want to talk about our lender on Wednesday. And then I want to jump into the new mentee tracking document. And I call it tracking right at the moment. It's probably going to be a progress report document that I would love to transition our weekends to going through. So it's kind of like, let's go through yours. Let's go through this piece. Is there anything that you need to help achieve these goals kind of thing? Because so far everything's being tracked in my head. And I have an ability to build mind castles and hold them pretty well. But with my own business ramping up this year and all the other pieces, I don't want to miss anything. So I want to jump into that.
I mean, I just have stuff that's top of mind transaction wise.
Yeah,
but
we can jump into those, and we are recording, so we're good. So we can jump right into that.
Okay, Kayla, do you have stuff too, or do you want me to go?
The only thing that mine's probably super quick. I talked to my friend and she said that as far as the updates go, they probably put about 50 grand into that house.
Okay.
So she doesn't have the receipts and everything, but she kind of listed out everything. She sent me pictures. And so we're going to go from there. I haven't been able to call Kings County just because I've been at the courthouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did tell her that I needed to do that before we can do anything so that it can be done correctly.
Yeah. And if you can itemize that at all, to like even high level, right? Like we don't need to know how much each of those faucets were, but if you could be like grand total of kitchens around this, that is really helpful to you.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yep.
Actually, I would never ever want an itemized list down to the sink because no one's ever going to do that.
I remember you told me when I sent you my sisters.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. We did have that conversation. Yeah. So for Kristen's benefit, whenever you do like a list of upgrades, don't do itemized down to the finest detail because then people are going to start nitpicking and be like, well, I saw a sink for cheaper at Home Depot. Right? No, you don't need that. You just need like total kitchen upgrades, and you can make assumptions on what that all was. And if they don't like the sink, they can go buy that cheaper one at Home Depot if they want. Like it's going to be their house, but giving those broad, like this is what the upgrades were when it comes for two reasons. One, it helps people see why you're valuing the property the way you are. And two, when it comes to the appraisal, it's nice to have that sheet along with your homework to hand to the appraiser as the listing agent. Just in a stack of papers. It's kind of like I was explaining to Kayla, it's kind of like when you do high school algebra, your teachers want to see your work, right? They're like, we want to know every thing that you changed. And so by the time you're done with even a simple simplification, it's like this long. Appraisers have to do the same thing. They have to justify all of that. So if you can hand them the work and then they can see what your results were, they will have to do less work to get the same or similar results from you. So it's kind of like saying, hey, I did your homework for you. Here you go. This is to help expedite the process. And it helps you two for one, making the process move faster because appraisers can take a while. And two, actually three, it helps build that relationship with the appraiser because even if they don't use it, they're appreciative of the fact that you shared it with them. And three, most likely they'll lean into it and use the comps because then they'll use your comps as their reference point versus comps in that they find online, right? So
that could be outdated with today's market,
right?
So this is all a conversation around listing. Like Kayla put together something of like, hey, I've gone through your home. Here's an itemized list of things that probably should be updated. Or what's the context to this conversation? Because
go for it, Kayla.
I think I'm missing that.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, she lives in the valley. And she inherited this house from her ex-husband because he passed away a couple weeks ago, but she was wanting to sell it. And so I had asked her because I remember her telling me a couple years ago that they had basically gutted the entire thing and upgraded it. And so I was like, okay, well, do you remember? Because she had a stroke 2 years ago. So I didn't know if she was going to remember exactly how much. So I was kind of having to like, okay, well, how much was this? How much was this? And it's going to be an as-is sale because there's one room and then the garage doesn't have drywall up on the walls on the inside. But there's one room that's not completed. So she was just wanting to basically know how much she's going to get because I did tell her that even though they paid $50,000, I can't add $50,000 to the listing price because that's just not how it works.
Right.
So
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So my response to that is typically not what I'm looking for, unfortunately. Typically, when you go and present that, the upgrades list just allows you, for example, like a pool in the valley. If you spent specifically there, if you spent like $10,000 on a pool, you might get like $2 or $3 grand in value out of that expense in that pool. Where you put your money is very, very valuable. So if you put your money in the most used parts of the home, like the kitchen and the bathrooms, you're going to see a higher ROI than if you put like you decked out the master bedroom to the $9s, right?
Yeah.
I had a client one of my very first sale, actually, then he came back to sell that home years later, and he chose not to work with us for Lord knows what reason. But he was a really odd gentleman. And so I was showing the house that I had sold him, and he was like bragging to me how he put in all of these pump systems in the house, how he can get like hot water from one side of the house to the other, instead of in like 30 seconds, it'll be there in like 0.2 seconds. And like super excited about it. That didn't increase the value of his home just because he moved hot water faster. Right. And we looked at him, and he had started in the back of his house and moved to the front. And so his kitchen wasn't done and his living room wasn't done, but all of the bedrooms were done to the nines, and no one cared.
Right.
And that was part of the problem with his house being on the market for so long, because it was like, you put your money in the wrong spots and you never asked us who are here.
Yeah, professional. Yeah.
Where, if I had 30 to put into my house, where should I put it? So Kayla, that's one of the reasons we get that list, is that it helps us quickly get an understanding before walking through the home, how we're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because anybody can get a barn door and hang it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not a huge shift. If putting in granite countertops is different. So
Right.
especially in the Valley, where tile was very popular for a very long time.
Yeah.
Does that help, my friend? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you get that, and we'll go through it, and then we're going to do a practice listing presentation. Okay, we'll meet for coffee.
When are you guys going to do a practice listing presentation? Because I need to practice that for my potential listing.
I don't even know. I'm not even ready for that yet.
Okay. Well, I have a deadline.
What's your deadline?
Before 3/3, which is what, Thursday of next week? Hold on.
So that might have to be virtual.
Yeah.
Here's why.
That's fine. That's fine. And I was going to talk to you and like prep kind of what I've learned just from GoGo's team and like the resources from like Mark Z and all that stuff. So I was going to try to basically put something together of like, hey, this is what I think. And then, so 3/3 is Thursday. So I would like it sometime prepared before then. So my goal this weekend, I have a lot of goals for this weekend, but that was going to be one of the things to be working on.
Okay. So we have a couple things to go through, but we're gonna. Okay, I guess here's my long and short of it. I'm basically doing a Freaky Friday with my parents, and so I'm gonna go take over their house and watch over their business things, and they're gonna come here because they need to get out of the Valley for their own mental health, and need to stare at the ocean, and just finances where they are. We're just gonna switch. So I'm gonna be gone Sunday through Wednesday, basically. Okay. So we will do that virtually.
Okay.
Okay. Kayla, if you can join, I don't know what jury duty schedules are going to look like, but if you can join, that would be awesome. And we can do like Kristen and I practice, and then you and I practice, and then I can watch you both practice and give you feedback. That way.
I don't know as far as jury duty, but I can try.
You can try. I mean, we can work a time that works for the three of us. That would be great. We'll record it, and then it can be a lesson that we can all look back on. That being said, if we could do that earlier next week, that would give you time to reframe stuff. I would say let's do it tomorrow, but that might cause a little bit of anxiety. So we'll zoom out on that.
I mean, I could get it done, but might not be my best work. So
the first, and again, and you think you both know this, but those questions is where you start. And when you have all the answers to those questions, then we put a doc together. Basically what you're going to put together is a convincing story of why the home needs to be valued where you think it should be valued, and the pattern and order that you put that together. Everybody has their own style. So Kristen, I'll be like coaching you in my style. I know GoGo has hers. At the end of the day, I don't have a style that forces people to sign on the dotted line at the end of my presentation. That's not where I'm at. But both of you have people who are going to sign on that dotted line no matter what. So it doesn't really matter. But what I end up doing is I present everything. I hand them the homework and I say, thank you very much. Yeah. And then I walk away, and I do hand them a stack of papers because there's something tangible about those papers, and it's definitely a business expense that you can write off. But ink is going to probably be crazy for you. So either you print it on your own or you print it at like
Go get it printed.
Go get it printed, whatever it is. I mean, reminder, it's all right offable, but you leave it with them in like a nice little folder. And then most of the time people are like, wait, I don't have to sign anything. You're like, well, no, like you need to think about this. We want to give you the space to think about it. I'm not going to pressure you. 98% of the time we get a call back.
Yeah.
When we do listing.
I think for this situation, it'll be more so like that. It's going to be more conversational, but I still want to be, like if this is a complete sidebar, but I think this situation will be a little different than typical, but I would like to develop my own style and have all of that prepared. So, that would be great to fully practice and prep and have all of that, like regardless of what it costs to print and whether I get it and all that. So,
yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My immediate questions are about the escrow though, that we're in. So whenever you want to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Let's get through that and then we'll jump tonight.
Yeah, this is quick. So obviously very new, and I did my AVID. So I'm going to fill that out today. And then Manny had said, just like get it over to her once I get it done. So I'd like for you to get eyes on that. Maybe just a quick once over. If I could send it to you as a PDF, just once I have it
right
done.
Now?
I didn't fill it out. No, I like took all the notes. Yeah.
Let me show you something. I just did an agent visual inspection as well. We're going to take this as a teaching moment. I'm going to just share my screen if you're okay with that.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. So share. Perfect. So agent visual inspection. I have this property on Cromwell, probably the fastest one I've closed in the last couple of years as a loan, not cash, which is phenomenal. If this lender ends up closing on time, like he says he is, he's might become my new favorite one, and I'm gonna hand him to everybody. Long story short, we put this offer into escrow on Thursday, not this Thursday, but last Thursday, and we will be closing. We would have closed yesterday if it wasn't for the fact that the couple is in different states, so the documents have to be sent around a little bit. But that's how fast it can close in a week, which is absurd. That being said, agent visual inspection. I mean, read this, please take a time to absorb.
Yeah,
what that says.
and I did. Okay. Yep.
We're going to just jump in here though. This is not for the state of California. The purpose of this document is that you have walked through it and that you've noted anything glaring, right?
Yep.
You are not a home inspector. Anything that you write on this, you're going to have to be able to justify that it was there, that it's still, all those pieces. So unless you've taken photos to put something alongside, I highly would recommend. Typically, I have a template that just says nothing specific to note on each room.
Yep.
And then if there is something specific to note, I delete that and I put it in. But then I just describe each of the rooms. Like I walked into this house, I saw these things. And then at the very end of this, so we can go through it. So like entry, nothing specific to note, one way to informal, other way to into formal side of home, divided by staircase, entryway, both directions, right? This is just stuff you can't really get or to clarify even if photos you see on the MLS. But the goal isn't that you're using the MLS, is that when you walk in to do the inspection, you've done this. It very, very high level. The more detailed, the potential challenges that it causes in escrow. If you use this to walk through the house as you're doing it, as inspections are going on, and you want to take your own notes, that's great. Just know that the simpler, the better.
Yeah.
Right. So like even this one, bathroom number 2, nothing specific to note, tile, flooring, shove tower combo, downstairs. That's it. The whole point of this is when we get to the end here, other observed conditions not known as specified above, recommend buyer obtain a professional home inspection of the property. That alone is going to cover everything else, right? You're saying I'm recommending you get a professional home inspection. You've had them sign that document. So you're just checking your boxes and doing your job here.
Yep.
So this isn't like if you open something and you see mold, do not call it mold.
Yeah.
Right. Be like water or moisture noted, recommends, professional pest inspector is what would go on that line. Just you're deferring that responsibility because otherwise you can
Yeah, I watched a really good YouTube video that kind of walked through like not assume like it's not your job to assume the cause or anything, and like basically just like you have to call out visually what you're seeing. And so I didn't know to the detail level, but like the house is so clean. I mean, so basically I put like no issues noticed for each section. There wasn't anything like there was small stuff, right? Like nail holes in the wall, like from where pictures may have been hung. I didn't know if like I needed to call that out or just nothing to know.
If your buyer has no issue with it, I wouldn't. I
Yeah,
would just put
no,
nothing to
not
note.
at
And then
all.
I described the rooms because if we are ever to come back and be
It
audited,
shows that you've been in it. Yeah.
if you're ever to come back and be audited, you would need to describe the home. And those photos may
Yeah.
not be available at the time to trigger your memory. So you do need to be able to write something.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, most bedrooms look like this. Like I think I have this as a template, and then I just change out carpeted to wood,
Yeah.
tile,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Sometimes I have
Right.
ceiling fan if this one didn't have
Yeah.
any ceiling fans, but like
Yeah.
very, very basic,
Yeah.
if that helps.
Yep. Very helpful. So
Cool.
I'm going to get that done and then I should be good and I'll get it to Manny. And then the other thing is I got the home inspection back and the roof inspection, and then we're waiting for pest report to come in, should be today. So the home inspection report came back super clean. There's a couple of things that like, I don't know if we should be asking for concessions on, like requests for repairs, like that's, I didn't know how. And I told my buyer, I said, look, like, let me review all these reports in depth and I'll get back to you this weekend and we can walk through what you want to ask for, if there's anything. So I didn't know how to manage that conversation based on what's on the report. And then my last question, so like that's kind of immediate need, because contingency removal period's coming up on Wednesday.
Okay.
And then the last piece, there's a couple things with that. The last piece is there anything else from me as an agent throughout the escrow process that I need to be doing forms for, that I need to be like physically going to the house for outside of like the last final walkthrough?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Manny will basically take care of everything else, which is why we love her. You should be aware of what each of those forms you're signing is, and you should know
For sure.
the order of it. So don't just fully be like,
glaze over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, she will take care of it. So she'll look at you and be like, we need this for our file. And as the state of California changes their rules, as EXP changes their requirements, she'll make sure that different documents are added. So it's something you should always stay sharp on. Right. Okay. But if you really wanted to see what every one of those steps are, you can go into your Skyslope file for your transaction. Okay. And if here,
I saw that she just got that started for me because I reached out to her yesterday. I said, hey, I'm going to be getting you my AVID. This is the status of everything else. Can I be sure that I'm clear on the transaction timeline and what else do you need from me? And she was like, hey, I do need this, this, and this. And I was like, perfect. And then we got that all knocked out. And so then I got the email about, hey, your Skyslope transaction has been set up. Like, here's your completed. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I started looking at that.
Yeah. So give me 1 second. I want to pull up my, gosh, I'm satisfied. Leave me alone. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up. I'll show you. I'm just gonna share my screen again because it's easier. Because this way you guys can see behind the curtain and jump on in here. So we'll go 7 pending. Okay, transactions, right? So you have these things. Here's Cromwell, which we were just discussing.
Yep.
Right. In here, you've got all the information. Again, one of the beautiful things about Manny, you don't have to input any of this. She does it all. But if you go to the checklist,
okay,
these are all these are all the documents and things you may need for the transaction.
Okay. This is exactly what I wanted to know. Like, what else is going? Because I want to become I want to use this first one as like as much of a learning experience as possible. And I know every transaction will be different, but like overall high level overview, what's expected from me during the process.
Right. So if you didn't have Manny, you would be expected to manage all of this.
My
right?
gosh, she's
And you'd
so
have to
worth
know,
it.
right, that's exactly, because
Yeah.
each of these, you guys have filled out the RPAs and the RLAs now.
Yeah.
Each of these
Yeah.
is just as long or confusing. So like, for example, if you had a seller in possession, see how it says if applicable? If you
Yeah.
put in here that it is applicable and you need to attach it, all of these boxes are going to be reviewed by EXP, and you'll get an email from, maybe I can pull one up. You'll get an email from them that looks like, here, I'm gonna, oop, nope.
I
Okay.
just got one.
EXP. It's something like a
Skyslope checklist received from,
Yeah.
oh, that's not from EXP.
Skyslope checklist.
Yeah, this was from someone at a no reply at Skyslope.
Reviewed.
Basically, congratulations on your new transaction. Just a reminder
Yeah,
to
so
continue to
this-
upload all your docs. Yes, this.
So they basically will send you an email of it. And long story short, it's both Skyslope and our EXP team. So
Okay.
your broker, see where it says file's been broker approved?
Oh,
If stuff is
yep.
missing, they basically write these emails to scare you into doing your job. They're going to just
Got
come in
it.
here and they're going to say, you're missing
Yeah.
these things. We need it to close. Otherwise you won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I go back
Got
to Skyslope checklist, I think I might have one. Is this one items? So it's like incomplete, right? Hey, we know you're busy. Couple things are needed for your file, and it's from the broker team. So they're just using their team, right? But these notes have to be proper. And then when it gets down here, what they'll do is
they go through and review everything.
They review every document. So it's like we're missing second seller. Those documents have to be resent out. And this is where Manny is super helpful, because if anything's missing like that, she'll call it out
before the broker team does.
And it just makes super like, and then when it's like, she'll leave these notes, like there's no AEA on this file. It's a lovely document that's kind of like an addendum, but it changes a quote of the contract.
Okay.
So for example, if someone was changing their name, it would need to be on an AVID. It couldn't be on an addendum. It's a different way of doing it, but we have
an attachment to a contract. Yeah. Okay.
So again, Manny will be here to help guide that process. Again, this is why
I want to just get familiar though too.
Yeah, this is why we do that though. So this is why, again, I think Manny, if you choose to ever do this on your own, she's amazing training wheels. Because
I'm not ever doing this on my own. She will always be hired.
Right. And then I also want to show you, here are all of your documents. Okay. So you do have this amazing ability to come in here and look at, like, we'll jump into we'll do the edits as AVID, right? So if you wanted to, you can take a peek at the file, right? You can go through it. If it's here, if you're like, man, I know we had this, I can't find it. It's better than searching your inbox because it's going to be here. But if you wanted to say, I just need this page to prove a point in an email, you can come here, you can say, I want to split that document. It'll take you into a tool that'll allow you to pull out the exact page that you need.
Yep.
So you just be like, proof of blah, right? Whatever that is. And then I can type. And then you're just like, I only want this page. Or you're like, you know what? I actually only need 3. And then you separate it, you get rid of those, and you just pull that out. It'll split it for you. You can take that and you can email it and be, look, you signed here. This is this piece. Or if you're missing something, and Manny, for example, say you need something by like within the next hour. And you're like, I know that I can send it to Manny and it might take an hour or 2 for her to get it back. You can come in here, pull that document out.
Do it yourself. Yeah.
You can click split and assign.
Okay.
Where's my, or you can just click split and it'll pull it out into the document. And then when you get out here, I'm gonna have to delete this. Docs. So I don't know if it'll go to the top. Proof of blah. Right. You can take this and then you can send it to DigiSign directly.
Yeah.
And then you can send it to the applicable parties. And what it'll do is it adds it here.
Yep. Just like everything else.
Like everything else.
Yep.
Yeah. So that way, if you ever because often you'll get like page 10 needs to be signed, or we're not going to go into escrow. Great. Come in here, pull page 10 out, send it for signatures and be done.
And do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
but I'm gonna have to fix what I just did now. So give me a
Yeah.
moment. But yeah, so that's
Go back in it and do it now before you forget. Just
I
go
am
back
going
into
to.
your Cromwell. Yeah.
But yeah,
Give me a
it's
minute
so
here.
does that make sense of how you
Yeah.
pull the documents in the list? And they're all
Mhm.
here. The nice thing is if you just CC Manny on all of this,
Yeah.
you will, oh, shoot, I'm running out of time. If you CC Manny on all of this, trash, thank you. You won't have to worry about putting it in. She'll take care of it all. Her and her team. She actually has a team now, which is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
think
that's very helpful.
Mhm. Go for, I
I
think I'm
know
not
we
going to
only
do
have
my part of
10
this
minutes.
today. I just want to,
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh.
say we only have 10 minutes. Sorry.
it's okay. This is important for the immediacy. But Kayla, did that beg any questions for you as well?
No, but it was nice to see how everything works inside there because I have yet to work in there.
Perfect. I recommend creating a file that you just name like,
Test.
A fake one.
test, yeah, or
Yeah.
Tim's really mean, whatever you want to call it, and just like play with it. Okay, no one, you're the only one who's going to see that. Like, or you know what I would call it? I'd call it like mentorship practice file,
Yeah.
just in case the broker
Oh,
does
it's
come
very
through the file.
clear.
Very, very
Yeah.
clear. And then just play, right?
Yeah.
Upload your practice RPAs and RLAs, like break them apart, sign things, and know that like as long as it's labeled as practice, you can
Yeah.
do whatever you want. And then when you feel comfortable, delete the whole thing so it doesn't mess up anything in the future. And just get comfortable with the tool. Same thing with your car forms, create a practice one. Same thing with everything. It's not gonna screw anything up in the long run. We can always reset to factory settings, which is what it is now. So just touch all the buttons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's not like a microwave. It's not gonna break forever. We can hit reset. So put metal in it if you want. Cool. Any other questions?
So home inspection, requests for repairs, and or like asking instead of for them to repair, if we wanted to do like concessions of like a credit towards closing. What is reasonable to ask for? Like, all that. Yeah.
For sure. I typically say on a request for repairs, no maximum, no more than 5 items. The more items that are
there's
on that
not
list,
even really 5 items on there to fix that are, in my opinion, worth it.
perfect.
So
like typically I go biggest ticket items first, including health and safety. So if something is labeled as a section 1 or 2 item, right? Section 1 is health and safety. Section 2 is kind of will become a section 1 if you don't fix it. On the pest reports, those items need to be like they need to go on there. Even if it pushes you over 5, it needs to go on there. After that, I do anything that's going to be the most expensive fix you ask for. Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if windows need to be replaced, okay, that's one thing. But if there's a wall that has mold, that needs to be on there. And if you're going to make your decision, you need to have your buyers basically prioritize a list and then tell them we're going to be choosing your top 3. Right.
Yeah.
I always tell buyers 3, and then I am a flexible realtor and I allow them to go to 5. Okay.
Yeah.
The goal is that you're really, really honing in that request. Because it would be nice to have everything done coming into a house, but you're also acquiring a property that's been lived in
this market. And like
it's just not worth
so
it.
much is sold as is. And like, let's not blow an escrow on something that's like so important to my buyer over something that you can go to Home Depot for a couple $100.
And so the way that I handle that conversation is I say, what's an amount that you find reasonable to spend on your home when you move in to fix things up and make it yours. Right. And then if they're like, okay, well, we've got like a 10 grand budget. Cool. Okay. Then all of these like $200 here or there need to be put into that budget before your furniture, because you need to take care of them. Right. So it's that kind of framing of the conversation to say, what are you going to be spending? Like on what are you willing to spend on the infrastructure of the home, maybe like hone it in even more. And you got to be willing to spend something. Because you got to probably going to want to paint it to your color and, do the fixtures here or there. That'll be yours. So what in that budget, how much do you want to spend? If this guy doesn't sound like he is, but if they were absolutely like hard-headed about it,
sticklers on it. Yeah.
and it's a principal issue. Like I've had people who have millions of dollars in their pocket, but it's a principal
And
issue.
they're like, I don't want to do it. Yeah.
Right. And you're like,
Okay.
we'll just find another house. You're like, okay, then if you want to lose the house over, you know, a broken sink,
Yeah.
go for it. And then what you do at the end of the day is you can look at the listing agent if it really becomes a stickler issue between the buyers and the sellers. Ultimately, what both parties want to see is movement on the other side. They want to see that there's some kind of like sellers are going to give some concessions and buyers are not going to be sticklers, right? They're going to be flexible.
Yep.
Both sides want to see flexibility. I have done a number of times, like I had an issue where a property appraised like 80 lower than what it was listed at. And they had solar that they needed to pay off. And there was like 35 in solar. My buyer was a stickler that he was not going to come up with the most he would come up with was 10 towards the solar. It wasn't his, and he didn't choose to put 35 on the house, and he would have taken the house without the solar. So the sellers could take their solar with them. Sellers could only do about what was it, 35? So it was about 20. And so I just looked at the listing agent and I was like, look, I'll toss in 2,500 if you do, and we'll just call it a day.
Yeah.
Right. So like, how does that conversation?
How do we keep this moving towards close? So that came up yesterday. She called me and she was like, we got to figure out this close of escrow thing. And I was like, look, I preliminary disclosed this to my buyer. Like, he's not super comfortable with doing a seller in possession, but he would be happy to extend escrow like 10, 15 days, looking at like a 4-1 or 4-5. We just can't go past the loan lock. And I was like, you know, that's our best case scenario is 4-1 or 4-5 and no seller in possession. Like, let me know how it goes. Like, we will figure something else to make it work on both sides. But like, I need you to figure out on your side, like, why now this 20-day extension here? So we left it at that. So yeah, that makes sense about like both sides just want to see things keep moving.
Yeah. And
that helps with like framing conversations too. Like, hey, it's not a hard end. Like, we just need to keep them progressing.
There needs to be, so just think of it this way. It's much easier if you have like a giant round boulder on the ground, right? It's much easier to keep it rolling and change its direction than to start it moving again.
Stop. Yeah.
And so that takes teamwork, right? So like if you picture like a 2-ton boulder, it's going to take teamwork to keep that thing moving. And as long as it's everybody's looking around and saying that everybody else has effort, that you'll get.
Yeah.
What I will.
So that's why. Oh, go ahead.
So what I will say when framing it, that like what that list is, choosing the items on that list. If you were to go through the home inspection report, did your home inspector give you like red, yellow, green?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's Keith. So he was very clear and easy to read.
I love it. So
good.
Yeah. So with Keith, he gives you that red, yellow, green.
Yep.
Take a look at it. Was any of those items, because of time, I'm going to take over a little bit. Were any of those items, what you thought would be like a little bit dramatic based on your walk through the house?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's some things that he was just calling out to call out, but there's like 2 or 3 things that I'd say, hey, we do need to do this, like a pressurized temperature pipe on the water heater. That's important. Not having to be PVC. Like I do, but it's a small thing. So do you really want to ask for it? You know?
Well, and that's a question you need to ask your buyers. And if they're like, yes, then what you do is you submit it with the request list, and then you jump on the phone with that agent and you say, look, they would take concessions as well if your buyers are actually willing to do that. Because there's a section on the new request for repairs that has a like, we'll just take concessions instead. Yeah. Don't mark that. Send it over to them,
but and then have it on a call.
They can send it back with it. They can do a seller's response to buyer's request for repairs, which is an RRRR, and you can check that box. So it's the document's meant to be dynamic and a negotiating tool. So just know that if you put it on there, send it over. What I will say is just frame that properly without Keith with your buyers to be like, he marked everything so that you had options to ask for everything. Right? If he didn't write it down, it's hearsay. So he wrote everything down. So let's focus on the couple items that are of import and value that you can actually deal with. Otherwise, so Keith did a property for me, and the water heater was connected to the air conditioning for some reason. That's how it all worked. And he's like, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm going to write it down so that you can make the request. We were able to get $8,000 out of the sellers because it needed to be upgraded as a whole, the entire system. And my buyers were willing to take that on because the sellers were able to move a little bit, right? It was a $30,000 fix. So they're like, we'll take 8. and Keith said it would function, because to them he was like, it's gonna function for another year. So he's like,
Yeah.
it'll function for a year and we'll find a way to pay for it. So hope that helps.
Yeah. I
We're
know
about less than a
about out
minute.
of time,
Yeah.
so thank you. If I have questions, do you have a crazy weekend, Tim?
I'm available via text. I have some meetings,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay. If anything comes up, I'll let you know, but thank you.
Just know it might not be an immediate response.
Yeah,
so I'll be here.
that's fine. Nothing urgent.